Hey guys and gals, another week here has come and gone. We had a little bit of a cold front pop through this weekend, which is fine and expected this time of year. We can't get spoiled with warm weather all the time. I know I talked to you last week about doing a Mille Lacs Lake report, so I'm going to show you a little bit of some things that worked on Mille Lacs, and then we're going to touch on things that are working here in the metro. Spend some time in the North Metro, spend some time on Tonka, spend some time actually even over into Wisconsin, on western Wisconsin. We're going to show you some things that are working, talk about some patterns, and get after it. First and foremost, staying warm in our Blackfish gear. I've been wearing the Blackfish Storm Skin this week. It's been nice and comfortable, keeping me dry. We've had a little bit of a spritz and sprinkle on and off, not much, but it feels cold. When the air temp's only in the 40s when you start, a little bit of rain can feel a lot of cold. It's pretty crazy. So you'll touch on some presentations that work, and again, go over a few patterns. For starters, we're seeing a lot of our fish, especially the largemouth, is staging on main lake points, big expansive weed points. Now they're moving in to do the spawn. That's happening. That's starting to become more prolific. And I would encourage you to be careful, be cautious, be respectful of the bass on their beds. Don't go and just rip them off there. We can't keep any bass here in Minnesota right now, but again, be respectful. I'm not going to preach about it. You're all big kids, you can make your own decisions, but I'm generally not plucking fish off their beds. I'm fan casting if I happen to pick one up here or there. It happens, but I'm not specifically targeting big bass. But to each their own. I'm not going to judge. I'm not that guy. But they are starting to make that happen. And then we're seeing some fishing between the docks. Again, these big expansive weed flats seem to be where we're getting 5 fish on 6 casts type things, right? So that's been where a lot of fish are locating. Shallow bays, even mouths of bays, and they're doing their thing. We did, like I said, go to Mille Lacs. We caught fish a few different ways up there. A lot of the smallmouth move shallow as 2-3 feet already. It's crazy. And we caught them as deep as 14. Walleyes were kind of all over in that range as well. Seemed to be more 10 to 18 feet for them. Didn't do a lot of walleye fishing, mostly targeted smallmouth bass. And we caught them on hair jigs. I can show you this one here. This is a 3/32 ounce. Also an 1/8 ounce, depending on the weather and the conditions, hair jig. Luke Ronastrand ties these. He works at Thorne Brothers. They're phenomenal. They're on an end cap if you stop in there. And I'm fishing that with 10 or 8 pound braid, 6 pound fluorocarbon leader, 2500 series Shimano, and this is actually a custom Thorne rod, 7.3 medium light Predator. So I'm throwing that little black hair jig. I always joke around that if a smallmouth doesn't want to eat a little black hair jig, then they're probably not hungry. They're probably not eating anything, but that caught us a bunch of fish. We also threw a paddle tail. This is just a all-terrain little swim jig. This is called the Smalley Smasher. I'm putting a little 3-inch Kitech paddle tail matching the hatch. So I got that silverhead, and I kind of got that bait fish going presentation. It looks like a shiner. It's got a little bit of different fleck. It may resemble a bluegill or a crappie, or you never know what it might resemble. And I'm fishing this on a 7.5 foot medium action rod, braided to a fluorocarbon leader and a Shimano reel. I went to a 3000 series on this. It's got that paddle handle. I can reel them in, crank them in, grab that thing a little better, but this has worked well on just a really steady, slow retrieve. And the fish just kind of pick it up or they whack it pretty good. We either have to take it out of their face with the pliers or it's barely hooked. There's really no in between on this, but this has also caught a bunch of largemouth. So this has been a very versatile presentation for smallmouth, largemouth, even walleyes. Just all purpose, get after it, chase down some fish. Those were kind of the keys on Mille Lacs. Now kind of moving into the metro, moving into more of the largemouth bassy world, we'll play off that same Kitech because that Kitech all-terrain combo, because it's worked. This is going to be your mighty head, your all-terrain mighty head, and this is a Mr. Twister green pumpkin to chartreuse grub, curly-tailed grub, the standard twister tail. This catches a pile of fish. It's very versatile. You can just go around and go fishing. And the difference, in my opinion, between this and let's say the minnow paddle tail is I can let this one kind of fall in between pockets. I can let it bounce off the bottom a little more, where that Kitech's more of just a constant retrieve, where this Mr. Twister tail is going to be a little bit of everything, probably a little more versatile. I am fishing this on the similar setup, 7 to 7.5 foot medium action rod. I got braided line to a fluoro leader, and I got that Shimano reel on there. So that's been a good all-purpose presentation. And that color, that chartreuse tail, I don't know why, but I think it mimics a lot of these bluegills we're seeing in the water. It really catches fish. So this is a great bait this time of year just to go fishing, whether it's walleye, bass, whatever. So that mighty head to twister tail combo has been getting it done. You know, moving on to the meat and potatoes of how we're catching our bass, moving baits seem to be king. We're getting reaction strikes out of these fish. These fish are in the 2 to 6 foot range, it seems like, and they are crushing baits that they don't want in their area. So we're using a lot of chatterbaits and swim jigs. I don't need to beat a dead horse with chatterbaits, but I'll bring this one up to the camera. You can see the paint is almost worn off of that blade, and that's just from today. This is a 1/2 ounce green pumpkin jackhammer, and I'm putting you can put whatever your favorite tail is on there. This just happens to be a green pumpkin chartreuse, little, you know, split craw tail, and this catches a pile of fish. This is just a steady retrieve, and they whack it. It's been a lot of fun to fish chatterbaits over the last several years. I know I beat it with a dead horse. A lot of anglers rely on them because they catch fish. And I'm using a 14 or 17 pound fluorocarbon. I got a 7.6 heavy action rod and a Shimano DC. I love this digitally controlled reel. When they first came onto the scene years ago, they were $600-700. Now you can get this Corrado DC for $250. It'll do everything. It's bulletproof. The gears are phenomenal. It casts like a dream. It's amazing. So I put these on a lot of my rods. They work exceptionally well, and I've been chucking this chatterbait all day. Brody, I am behind the camera. We've caught some fish on this, haven't we, today, dude? Brody's been chucking a chatterbait. He's caught a bunch. We've got some big fish to go. And then the other moving bait we've got fish to catch is going to be your swim jig. This is the all-terrain swim jig. This is that new bluegill, that bull bluegill pattern. Look how pretty that is. We've been seeing bluegills in the water. Brody and I are kind of putzing around these shorelines. We've seen a lot of fish swimming and blowing up on the surface. They look just like this. They're about that size once I put my favorite plastic on the end, and we're catching fish. So this is a steady retrieve presentation. This is a hot presentation. This is a skip presentation. This is a throw it in a pile of weeds presentation. That all-terrain swim jig is extremely versatile, and I'm fishing on a very similar rod. That's a chatterbait, the 7.6 heavy. I got that Shimano DC, and I'm actually fishing. I've been playing with that Daiwa fluorocarbon line. This is that camo stuff. Jeff Allen turned me out of this at Thorne Brothers a few weeks back, and I've been fishing it, and it works exceptionally well. It's kind of cool to have that camo color line instead of all clear. You know, a lot of it's confidence, but I've been playing with that and catching a bunch of fish. So obviously they're still biting wacky rigs and some things like that. That's still working, but this has kind of been our mainstay lately for catching fish. Again, stay moving. These fish are on the points. Work through the shorelines. Get after it. We had a little bit of a cold front. Now we're going to get some warm weather this week. I'm extremely excited to see that weather is going to warm back up. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to see some things start to continue to move and transition. Didn't really chase the crappies this week. I apologize. I have not been chasing crappies. It's been pretty much game fish. We had the opener. We're getting after it, and it's go time. So have some fun this week. Next weekend is the Memorial Weekend holiday. I ask that everyone just be respectful. If you're at a boat launch, lend a hand. It's going to be busy. We know that ahead of time. If you don't want to deal with that, then don't go on the water. It is just the nature of the beast. But if we're respectful for one another and we help each other out and we just understand that that's how it is, you're going to have a much more enjoyable weekend. So enjoy that weekend with family and friends. We're going to get after the Memorial holiday with another report and get after it. Have a great week.